What? Let me be the son.in.law at the beginning. I won't do it, I'm so cowardly. What? My wife is a beautiful woman, it would be a wonderful thing to have a beautiful wife. Let's see Chu Qi, starting from my son.in.law, kowtowing with a sword and achieving the unparalleled sword emperor. Chapter 1. Storytellers. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xia. Haizhou, adjacent to Beihai, is the most remote county in Daxia. In a certain medical clinic, there was a lively and bustling atmosphere. Hey, little brother. In front of the counter, the man in line had a long face, resembling a donkey's face. His pale face was filled with anxiety, and he spoke to the physician apprentice who received the patient, but a hint of unnoticed malice flashed in his eyes. The apprentice glanced at his simple attire with a hint of disdain in his eyes. The apprentice forced out a professional fake smile and spoke, "Hello, may I ask if you want to see a doctor or take medication? I'm looking for a doctor, I'm feeling very unwell. May I ask if you need to apply for membership? The fee for applying for membership is 1 or 2 gold coins." The man's face suddenly became extremely ugly. "Oh no, haven't you been to a high-end medical clinic before? I still want to find all the doctors. Dr. Feng is from Haizhou, no, the #1 doctor in the summer. If I don't upgrade to a member, I still want to consult with him." A noble woman wearing a luxurious mink coat behind the man spoke sarcastically. The apprentice still maintained a polite smile and said, "May I ask if you want to apply for membership? The fee for applying for membership is 2 taels of gold. Didn't you just say 1 or 2 gold coins?" The man paused, trying to suppress his anger. "I remember wrong." The apprentice jokingly spoke up. "Zhao, I'll find a doctor to see a doctor." At this moment, a boy dressed in rags and looked like a beggar walked in. The physician apprentice nodded and allowed him to enter the consultation room. The man gritted his teeth and patiently asked, "That kid is so poor, he has also applied for membership." "Oh. He didn't do it, but he's my cousin." The man could no longer bear such teasing. Just as his anger was about to erupt and he wanted to kill the apprentice, a series of sounds sounded. "Do it. I will pay for membership." The man who inquired suddenly lost his anger and looked strangely at the source of the sound. The speaker was a middle-aged man with a big back, dressed in gold and silver, with a slightly overweight figure and a belly, but still unable to conceal his unique temperament, as if he were a wealthy family with millions of gold. "Brother, this is for you." The wealthy man took out a stack of silver bills from his waist and handed one to the man. The man took the silver ticket and a surprised expression appeared on his pale face. He couldn't help but ask, "Did you give me this?" "No, this is the loan I lent you. I took out a loan at the AliExpress bank, and the interest is only 1 or 2 silver coins per day." "How cheap." "This high-interest loan." The man's pale face turned red with immense anger, and he slapped the counter in front of the apprentice. "You dare to play with me? Hey, hey, hey. If you damage the table, you'll lose 3 taels of gold." Seeing the man about to hit the high-interest loan salesman, the young apprentice's face immediately became cold and stern. "You." The man's face was extremely fierce, but he still endured it. "If you can't bear it, you'll mess with big plans. If you start now, you may be noticed by that person. It's not easy to find this place, but if he runs away, it won't be worth the loss. But when he catches that person, he must kill the apprentice in front of him. And that one who sells high-interest loans. And just now I mocked him. It works perfectly." Thinking of this, the man's expression softened slightly. He handed the silver ticket in his hand to the apprentice and said, 10 taels of gold, apply for membership, and the rest will be paid to you." The apprentice took the silver ticket and after verifying its authenticity, he put it in his arms. His face immediately became extremely friendly, and he looked at the man with a smile and said, "Oh my, it seems that you really have some difficult and complicated problems. My master is a famous doctor, especially skilled in treating male functional diseases, and membership is definitely not a loss. This is your SIM card. If you walk back from here, the first room in the corridor is my master's consultation room." The man took the wooden card and ignored the apprentice, then turned around and walked towards the back room. Medical Consultation Room, 101. A kind-hearted old man with a childlike face and white hair, a radiant complexion, long beards fluttering, a fairy wind, and a heart full of bones. Years have left countless vicissitudes in his eyes. He is wearing a blue long shirt, and there are 2 couplets hanging on the wall behind him. Hanging a teapot to help the world without asking for rewards, upright but with peace of mind. This person is Qi Feng, the first divine physician of the great Xia dynasty. However, what is unknown is that he also has a more prestigious identity, which is the husband of the mainland hegemon Tianzhou Xianchao and the sword son of the world's top sword sect, Wanjian Feng Qi. That used to be an incredibly powerful swordsmanship giant, who could easily crack mountains and sweep thousands of troops with just one sword. And it is this unparalleled figure who is now sitting at the doctor's table, seeking medical treatment. Across from Feng Qi sat a young boy with straight features and a bony figure. However, unlike his face, his clothes were too shabby, his tattered clothes were covered in patches, and even his shoes were torn, revealing a section of his toe. "Mr. Qi, how has my illness recovered?" The poor boy's face was slightly pale, looking sickly. "If I remember correctly, your grandfather's name is Lu Disheng, right? You remember it well. Say hello to your grandfather with me." "But he passed away last year." "I know." The boy's face suddenly turned even paler, with no trace of blood. "Sir, do you mean I don't have much time left?" The young man's face was slightly displeased. Feng Qi glanced at him and showed some interest before asking, "Kid, you seem to really want to live, but you're so poor that you can't even afford a meal. What's the point of living like this? If I were you, I would have to eat and drink for the rest of my life, enjoy myself in a timely manner, and be reborn into a wealthy family to enjoy happiness in the next life." The young man seemed to be stabbed in his heart, his pale face struggling, his fists clenched tightly, and the blood vessels on the back of his hands were clearly visible. Feng Qi looked at him without speaking. After a few breaths, the young man released his fist and forced a forced smile towards Feng Qi. "Since Mr. cannot be treated, I will have to look for another expert." The young man looked desolate and turned around to leave. However, when he walked to the door, Feng Qi stopped him. "Little one, I can save your illness." The young man stopped and a hint of hope flashed in his eyes. He turned around and prostrated himself at Feng Qi's table. "Please help me, sir. Lu Shou is willing to be a cow and a horse for the students." Feng Qi didn't let him get up, his eyes fixed on him, and he asked, "You want to tell me, why are you so afraid of death?" The young man paused, not expecting Feng Qi to ask such a question. He lifted his head, his eyes fixed on Feng Qi, and an immense hatred surged in his eyes. "My whole family has been harmed by traitors, and my mother died for protecting me. I want to live. I must live, with my parents' share. They don't want me to live, but I must live to show them." Feng Qi's eyes flashed with a gleam of light. Lu Shou was not Lu Disheng's biological grandson. Lu Disheng was a famous old widower in Haizhou City. 7 years ago, Lu Disheng found Lu Shou on the roadside, who was on the brink of death, and he had been raising him for 7 years. Lu Disheng's house lives next to the medical clinic, so Feng Qi also knows some details about this young man, but he doesn't know that Lu Shou still had this energy 7 years ago. No wonder there is a natural sword body in this remote Haizhou. Perhaps this young man's footsteps are in the center of the continent. "Kid, why don't you want revenge?" Feng Qi asked. Lu Shou shook his head with a bitter smile and said, those enemies are all flying to heaven and earth, capable of anything. Even if they kill my whole family, it's just a snap of a finger. As an ordinary person, why should I fight them? If I say I can make you kill those enemies with your own hands, do you believe it? Lu Shou was slightly stunned at the words, then shook his head again and kicked the absurd idea out of his head. Sir, if you really have the ability to escape from heaven and earth, how could you stay in this Haizhou? Little one, do you want to know why this old guy is staying in Haizhou? Of course, he took something he shouldn't have taken and offended someone he shouldn't have offended. A discordant voice rang out, and the man who had been teased by the apprentice kicked the door in. His long donkey face had a hint of sarcasm, a hint of coldness, and a look of disdain in his eyes. I didn't expect it. Your husband, you actually hid in this small place. The so-called ends of the world are just like that, right? Feng Qi seemed to have anticipated this scene and his expression remained calm. Which sect of experts are you from? Seeing the former swordsmanship giant showing such respect to him, the donkey-faced man spoke proudly, I, Li Huan, come from the Liang sect and have been ordered by the emperor to retrieve the 100,000 sword scriptures. I also request the Sun.in.Law to surrender. Ha ha ha. Upon hearing the words of the donkey-faced man, Feng Qi burst into laughter as if there were no one around. Immediately, Feng Qi stood up. At the moment he stood up, Li Huan's face suddenly changed, and he quickly took 2 or 3 steps back. However, when he remembered that Feng Qi had already been deposed by the current emperor, he regained his courage, straightened his waist, and took a few steps forward. Feng Qi walked up to Lu Shou and helped him up from his kneeling position. Kid, the man has gold under his knees. As my disciple, I won't kneel for anyone in the future. Do you hear me? Lu Shou was a bit confused when he saw this scene. He couldn't understand what these two people were saying, but this donkey-faced man seemed to have a good background, and Mr. Qi was actually a Sun.in.Law. It's really hard to imagine that any princess would marry such an old Sun.in.Law. Feng Qi, don't pretend too much. Your cultivation has been ruined by the Holy One. It's better to honestly hand over the 100,000 sword scriptures to avoid the suffering of flesh and skin. The donkey-faced man sneered and spoke. Just in Lu Shou's opinion, this donkey-faced man is somewhat fierce and cunning. If you really have the ability, just grab this old man and leave him talking nonsense. Jia Kui, come and see me quickly. Feng Qi spoke lightly, and in the next moment, a long sword pierced through the body of the donkey-faced man from behind. The donkey-faced man turned his head in disbelief and looked at the person behind him. The apprentice who had previously looked down on him bared his white teeth and showed a benevolent smile. Undead, dizziness is normal. Relax, it's like this for the first time. In just a few breaths, the vitality of the donkey-faced man disappeared, and even his divine soul was shattered by the sword energy. After Jia Kui drew his sword, a flame appeared on his fingers like magic, and he threw it onto the body of the donkey-faced man. In just a moment, the body turned into a pile of flying ash. Master, it's resolved. Did I go back to stand guard? Jia Kui inquired. You don't need to go back, we have to leave. This place has already been discovered. Jia Kui nodded at the words and pointed at Lu Shou, asking seriously, what should my cousin do if he sees it? Should we kill him and silence him? Lu Shou's grandfather, Lu Desheng, is Jia Kui's uncle. It is true that Lu Shou is his cousin in terms of seniority, but Lu Shou is not Lu Desheng's biological grandson, so their relationship is not as close. When Jia Kui was so scared, Lu Shou's face immediately turned extremely pale. Don't scare this kid, Feng Qi glared at Jia Kui and then looked at Lu Shou. Kid, if you want to survive, you must cultivate immortality. Only the aura of immortality can suppress the poison on your body. Just now, I said you were my disciple, that was my idea. Now I want to ask you, are you willing to worship me as your teacher? Worshipping you as a teacher, can we cure diseases? Can we seek revenge? Of course. Master, I am worshipped by my disciple. Lu Shou was very clever and knelt down directly. Although he didn't know how this miraculous doctor could become a son.in.law and someone was chasing him, Zhao Kuiyuan's ability to rub the fire with his bare hands made him believe that this miraculous doctor could definitely save himself. Okay. Disciple, I ask you, what is your original surname? Tu'er was a descendant of the later Tang dynasty, originally surnamed Chen and named Chen Yuan. Later, my grandfather adopted me and named me Lu Shou, hoping that I could live a long life of 100 years. Since that's the case, I'll give you a Taoist name. Since Lu Disheng calls you Lu Shou, then I'll name you Chen. Feng Qi, how brave you are. How dare you kill my disciple? A loud voice with boundless killing intent came from outside the 9 heavenly clouds, interrupting Feng Qi's words. Feng Qi furrowed his brows slightly and looked at Zhao Kuiyuan, saying, You take your junior brother and leave first. I'll cut ties for you. 1 month later, the imperial capital of later Tang dynasty will meet. After Feng Qi finished speaking, his figure flashed and disappeared. Outside the clinic, a huge fireball is falling towards Haizhou city like the sun. I want all the people in this city to bury my disciples with me. On the void, an elder dressed in a vermilion robe stood tall, hunting with his collar on, rising without wind, like a fairy. That fireball was exactly what he rubbed out with his bare hands. At this moment, a sword light from bottom to top, like a crescent-shaped blade, cut the fireball in half like a tofu, and the sword energy shattered and extinguished the burning flames. Where are you, Xiao Xiao? Report your name. Feng Qi held a long sword in his hand, with a gun-like posture, standing not far from the old man in the red robe. The old man in the red robe saw his fireball being extinguished with a sword, and his face looked at Feng Qi in disbelief. Bad news, the intelligence is incorrect. Feng Qi's cultivation has not been abolished at all. The dog emperor deceived everyone in the world. The first reaction of the old man in Zhu Pao was to run and pass on the news to the leader, but Feng Qi from across the street stared at him tightly and didn't give him a chance to escape. Master Fu, everything is a misunderstanding. I'm leaving now. The old man in the red robe arched his hand and turned to leave. Feng Qi sneered and directly swung his sword towards the old man, with a 100 zhang sword aura that struck the head of the old man in the red robe. The latter's face changed greatly, and his hands quickly pinched the formula. Before being hit, he transformed into a blood shadow and fled into the void. Feng Qi saw that he had not killed the old man in the red robe, and his face was slightly unwilling. Suddenly, his qi leaked a bit and his face turned pale. His secret injury erupted, and the house leak happened to rain continuously at night. At this moment, several powerful auras rushed towards him from afar. Feng Qiao glanced at him from afar, then turned around and left. After Feng Qi left a pillar of incense, several powerful figures rushed together. Feng Qi has just left, and there is still his aura here. Chase. This time, we will never let the 100000 sword scriptures fall into the hands of others. Chapter 2. Inverted Sun.in.law. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 3. Transfer. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 4. The Dilemma of the Mo Family. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 5. Doesn't matter, I will take action. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 6. I'll get a Jia Kui. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 7. The appearance of a sun.in.law. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 8. Overcoming enemies with one palm. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 9. Langqing and Qie Yi. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 10. Newly married couples. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text.